The greatest idol in America is children. It's unquestioned that if it's for the kids, then we will do it. The problem is it's not always to the kids' best interest that we're doing all these things. And so I see many men taking a hiatus on their spiritual development and their brotherhood for 10 to 15 years because they're coaching, they're on the booster club, they're going to all the games, they're going to all the tournaments, and it's because they've been indoctrinated by the orthodoxy that a good dad never misses a game.
You started, I believe, at the ministry of Ironworks.
Right.
And I think the tagline talked about sharpening men with God's word. Does that get
Right.
that close?
Yes, right.
So this concept, a visual of sharpening, and that we could actually, in these areas from 2 Peter 1, we can sharpen each other in groups of men. We can come around these so that we're ready. Like a climber would sharpen their skills, their muscles to be able to handle, use like there's value in all of them, but there's ones you need at certain times.
Exactly.
Why, or just even add a little more color to that concept of being sharpened and why that's so important.
Well, I think, I don't know how it works with other guys, but there are a lot of men that I'm around. They don't need to say a lot about the character that they have. I'm watching them, and that sharpens me. I'm saying, I look at Steve, and I think he is such an affirmer. Yeah. I just get around him, and I feel like, okay, I need to hone my edge for encouragement.
Yes.
Or I watch Ed, and I think the guy is tireless to serve other people. He's not saying it, but just watching his lifestyle and just hearing enough about it. He's not teaching me in a classroom. He's sharpening me. By his character. So that's how it really happens. Of course, we teach a lot, but the format we use is I do some teaching, but that's really the excuse to get guys into groups, and that's where the real learning happens, is they sharpen each other.
And I could tell that from all of your videos and the free small group curriculum that you give out that we'll link as well on all these 8 areas. Mm-hmm. Like, you are activating men to talk about it, get around each other, talk about it. It's not a knowledge acquisition and now you're good to go.
Right. I mean, I do a lot of homework. I want to teach correctly, but I'm amazed that it's kind of like you as a dad. You say the same thing to your girls over and over and over again. And they're going to meet somebody else, and they're going to say the same thing, and they go,
unlocked.
And you're going to go, I've been saying that for 5 years. But they get it from someone else. Yeah. Well, men are really that way. Yeah. There's something about preachers, and I hope I'm not a normal preacher, but nevertheless, they can hear it from me, but they learn it when another guy goes, you know what, here's how it works for me. Yeah. Here's how I got through that situation. Here's how my unemployment went. Yeah. And guys are going, wow, thank you for sharing that.
About 2 minutes ago, I watched something happen, and you were explaining about sharpening, and I watched you do hero spotting. I watched you spot some heroes, which you got from your dad. Yep. And then I watched you take the hero spotting and translate it into sharpening of yourself. And those true principles alone of look for the good, spot it, and then embody that good and grow in that. So it's cool to see what you said you learned and how you're doing it, and how instead of you're like, well, I package it and sharpen it for I hope other people get sharpened. It's for you.
Oh yeah. That's why I said early on, I feel like I have brothers that are, I'm a learner too. Yeah. And of course you put a bellows on the fire when you affirm someone.
Will you help explain that a little further? What you mean by that?
When I could say to you, "Hey, Jeff, I really like your beard." Well, that's a compliment.
Sure.
But an affirmation is, Jeff, here's what you bring to the game. I saw your strength when. Yeah. Or thank you for reminding me in your behavior of something you've done. So when we do that with other men, it like a blacksmith's bellows, it heats up the fire. The coal is there, but we don't know who we are until somebody else really tells us who we are. Yes. And that's how I think it goes around and around and around. And if we can build a culture of mutual affirmation and get out of the culture of sarcasm, which is another whole subject.
That is.
That, you know, a true affirmation cuts through all the shyness of really looking at another man in the eye and saying, brother, I love you, and look at this. This is what you're doing.
Yeah.
And most of the time guys are going, really? I thought it was just me.
It sparks something in them.
Yeah, it does.
Because they're like, wow, that's not normal to be called out in the best kind of way.
And I've been on the receiving end of that too. I'm going, really? I just thought I was doing the best I could, you know? And people say, don't you recognize what you bring? When you walk in the room, when you bring a word, or when you serve in some way, you bring something to the game.
Yeah.
And we need that. So.
Well, I want to jump into questions about your marriage and about you and your wife, but I have to take a little sidebar for a second and a little history. I, without meeting you, Roger, knew about you from 12, 15 years ago because of your influence on some of our best friends, Eric and Betsy Rose, like your influence and the ways you've led and served and loved on them. I met with it was Betsy's dad, who was your children's pastor for a season. Right. I met with him 16 years ago. This is like I was married 1 year. I came and met with him, and he talked about you, and he talked about like your influence and your leadership. Then I'm in Fort Myers, Florida, and I bump into your worship pastor is in a coffee shop, and I overhear him talking to a barista, and I'm like, I know that your church, I know your pastor. And he's like, he immediately started talking about you and your heart for men. And so I have, from thousands of miles away, heard about your love for the Lord, your love for men. And the fact that now we're sitting down, I think it's worth calling out that there's a ripple effect of us living with that fire that you talked about. And I'm thankful for you living with that fire and how it has stoked up fire in other people that I've gotten to spend a lot of time with firsthand. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that feedback.
And I know part of the fire comes from having a marriage that is, you've stayed the course. You've said, we're going to love each other and we're going to stay married for 52 years. Yeah. How do I stay married for 52 years and keep the fire as well?
My dad used to say, you need to marry up.
Decision. That's a decision point. Yep.
You know, you've kicked beyond your coverage.
Yeah.
Now, he said mathematically it's impossible for both people to marry up, but spiritually it's really true.
Mindset. Yeah.
And so it's very simple, but the simplicity is not easy. And it's in Ephesians 5. It says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. It's not just left to define that myself. Secondly, wives, respect your husbands. Yeah. I have married a woman who fills my tank. She respects me. And by that, I mean, she doesn't just have a detached sort of theoretical, he's chosen a profession and I respect what he does at work. She will tell me, thank you for working hard. I appreciate your strength. I know what you tried to do, even if you didn't get it done. You gave it a good shot. She, and for a man, respect inflates a man like oxygen.
It does.
And she could tell me, I love your blue eyes, but that doesn't do much for me. I'm glad she does, but that doesn't help me. But when she says, I see your strength, man, I would run through a wall for that because she means it. Well, so she speaks my language, and I have tried, imperfectly for certain, to speak her language. Her language is cherish. Do you cherish me? Do you think about me? Are you bringing a question home for me? Because you've been wondering what I've been thinking. Do you want to touch me? Do you want to have your arm around me? Do you want to, in a sense, show the world that I belong to you? That's what she needs. Those things are not difficult to understand, but they are incredibly difficult to apply on a regular basis. Because if you know the book Love and Respect by Emerson Eggerichs, we get in a crazy cycle. And it's easy to, well, you didn't respect me, so I'm not going to love you. Well, you didn't love me, so I'm not going to respect you. And we get in this spiral that drives us straight to the ground.
Yeah.
And so there again, we've been blessed because we were both raised in intact homes. And we didn't see as much as we would probably have liked between our parents, but we did see respect and love. And we also saw some fun and delight. And so how can you stay married for, 41 years? You just have to do your part, and your wife is the only one who can do her part. But a lot of times the men give up. They say, well, I'm not getting back what I'm putting in, so I'm going to quit. But a lot of times that's just a matter of being trained as well. Maybe you think about the 5 love languages. I'm trying to love my wife in my language, and it doesn't translate.
Sure.
I need to learn her language.
Sure.
And so we've also been blessed that, again, we've been early in our marriage, we were introduced to small groups. People, marriage enrichment. We were invited to be on the speaker team for Family Life.
Cool.
Weekends to Remember. And we said selfishly, hey, we're getting more out of this than the people listening to us, because we have to think about, okay, we're going to Cincinnati to teach 3 days on marriage. How is it with us?
It's going to sharpen you.
Yes, it sharpens us. It keeps you. It's like preaching. It's in a sense, hey, I'm preaching on this. Am I convicted by it myself? Have I found the application for my own life? Otherwise, there's that big word, hypocrite, where you're telling everybody else what to do and you're not doing it yourself. So I would just have to say that I married way up, and I'm so grateful for that. And God has blessed us,
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, I hope that doesn't sound like, okay, just read a couple verses and God blesses you for 50 years. We've had our struggles, but it hasn't been mostly between us. It's been around us, and God has made us united in the center of that.
It's a gift.
Yeah. It's a gift.
I had written in my notes something about this principle, get one ahead.
Yeah.
Is that right? Is that a marriage principle?
Well, it's my principle.
Yeah, tell me.
A lot of times I'll talk with guys. I mean, I need to apply this to myself too.
Yes.
Well, I'll use myself as an example. I am more introverted than extroverted, which is true of a lot of pastors, by the way. But I give myself to people, and then I'm tired. And when I go home, I just want it to be my haven. I want to get my bike off the rack and go out for a ride, or I want to go to the wood shop and work on something. And so I can so easily become passive and lazy when I come home. I don't bring energy home. But if there's anything that changes the evening, it's if I come in the door and I get one ahead of the entropy, and I bring a question home, and for 2 minutes I engage in something. I'm just one ahead. How was your day? Well, you know what? I saw Jeff today, and I was thinking about you, and if I can bring some energy, just one ahead. And so a lot of times guys are stuck in their marriage, and they also feel like, you know what, my wife is chasing me with all these duties.
Sure.
And I'm retreating and playing defense all the time. And I say, you know what? Let's start practicing this. Get one ahead. Now, she may be critical of you. You might not be getting along, but get one ahead of that negativity and bring something that just says, hey, let's go to a movie tonight, or, let's go out to dinner, or can I wash the dishes? Or just get one ahead. And it doesn't take a lot to create in a different environment, except we have to practice that. I have to practice that. It's easy to think, okay, I got one ahead yesterday. I got some points in the bank.
It doesn't.
You know what? It all goes to zero overnight.
It sure does.
And so it's really just a principle of, another word for it is being proactive, but it's a little simpler. It's just do one thing,
one ahead.
One kindness, one word, one hug. Get one ahead. It sets the tone.
And that's how I fell in love with and got Michelle to fall in love with me, is I was that kind of guy in the dating relationship. I was always one ahead. I was 3 ahead. I'm just like going pursuit,
most guys are,
right? Pursuit. And now if I kind of bring that neutral level of energy and I'm waiting to see how, and then kind of play off, oh man, she hit me down. It feels like because something's behind or she's feeling tired. Now I feel tired. I follow her lead. You're just saying it's the opposite. Get one ahead is just bring the positive first wave, bring the interest, bring the pursuit. Yeah, I love it.
Even if you're coming home exhausted, you've been beat up, you've been betrayed, you can still come in the door and say, I couldn't wait to get home for you.
Yes, that's...
Because here's what's happened to me today. But you see, those little things.
Glad to be with you.
Yeah, I just, you're my rock. You're my sweetheart. You're the one that gives me life. Whatever you can say that's true.
Yeah.
And then let me tell you about my day.
Yeah, sure.
So it's not a matter of denying being sort of a male Pollyanna.
Sure.
That's not true.
So your grandkids are now parents because you've got great grandkids. This vantage point when it comes to the dad life and fatherhood, a tip, a bit of wisdom, what would you like? Is there anything new that you've been like, oh, that's a little bit of an aha now that my grandkids are becoming dads, moms? Anything from this kind of sliver in time that you're like, oh, I'm noticing this and well done, or I'm noticing this, add more focus there?
I just have one granddaughter who has children.
Yeah.
So we're still new at this, watching that. I would just go back to my own daughters. I watch them and their husbands. They're just much more intentional than I was. Maybe it's the culture. Schools are tougher. Everything's tougher. It's harder to get into college, and there's more things to watch out for. I just admire them at how intentional they are. They're not obsessed, but when I watched their discipline when they had little ones, they didn't seem to be as impatient as I was. Maybe just when I was around them, they were performing better. I don't know, but I am very grateful for that. And the thing that is most concerning for me for young parents, though, is busyness. You can't drop in on a fourth grader and expect them to be home. It makes me sad. There's a lot of great activities, and
the pace.
I didn't get to do a lot of those things, but the pace of life. And so that's a. I don't think I'm answering your question, but that's an issue for me.
It's an observation.
I know I sound like an out-of-date curmudgeon when I say this, but I really believe we have the greatest idol in America is children. It's unquestioned that if it's for the kids, then we will do it. The problem is it's not always to the kids' best interest that we're doing all these things. And so getting back to the whole issue of men, I see many men taking a hiatus on their spiritual development and their brotherhood for 10 to 15 years because they're coaching, they're on the booster club, they're going to weekend, they're going to all the games, they're going to all the tournaments, and it's because they've been indoctrinated by the orthodoxy that a good dad never misses a game. Maybe that's because they were deprived.
Sure.
Maybe that's because what their dad did. But the culture's changed because now, if a good dad never misses a game, does that mean he goes to all 60 hockey games?
Right.
Now, and during all this time, during all these years of sports, he doesn't have an evening when he can be with men. Or in a Bible study with or a small group with his wife.
Sure.
And kids are watching that. And so I know I'm swimming upstream here, but I really, and I know I appear to be a civilian in this war because I don't have kids at this age.
Sure.
But the pressure is enormous, and I don't know how to break that, Jeff. I think we need a counterinsurgency to say, okay, you don't have to withdraw, but you do need to balance. So my ideal perspective would be something like this: hey, son, or hey, daughter, you're playing soccer, you're playing baseball, hockey, whatever it is, basketball, and I'm going to be there whenever I can. But every other Thursday, I have a commitment. So you're going to need to ride with a neighbor.
Sure.
But I would want my kids to see that. But that's not selling.
It's not the norm. It's not what
Not
we're
the
seeing.
norm. And it has to be, there again, that has to be proactive. You got to say that up front. And you got to say that to the coach, or you got to say that to the team, or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm a little off the.
I like it. This challenge is so good for us to all be hearing, because
Well,
I'm
it's
just entering that season of kids' activities.
Well, and again, it's this idolatry, and it's an idol when you can't question it.
Yep. Yes.
Because inordinate fear comes. Oh, if I say that to my daughter, or say that to my son, you can't say those. Well, that's good indication that that's an idol.
It is. Wow.
And so that needs to be taken on, not to destroy it, but to balance it. And it's my opinion that the adults have ruined kids' sports. We have to have world championships for 4-year-olds. We have to have the Blue Angels fly over and the Star Spangled Banner and a World War II hero there, and give them come on,
Little
people.
League. Oh.
And then also young dads are expected to take all these days off work. I got to be at kindergarten graduation, first grade graduation, third grade.
All the moments.
And again, those are sweet in a way. But when a guy's only got so much PTO.
Sure. Then there's no family vacation.
Yeah, I mean, there's just I really struggle with the pressures on young dads, guys like you, with kids in the home, early to elementary age. Just the busyness is huge, and
I'm thankful. I'm thankful for your challenge here, because you're noticing that that the fire, the hunger for God, the fire for brotherhood and taking ground for the kingdom of God is going down or out in some of these dads, because they're choosing 15 years of sideline from the kingdom to go pursue the sideline of a soccer game.
Yeah, and of course there's some of that's so good, and in many ways it's the dad and the son doing it together. The kid loves it, but other times it's the hockey dad
obsessed
who
dad.
says, you know what, you're in this to make a living. You're going to get a
and
scholarship.
complete my identity.
Yeah, you're going to get a scholarship, and then when he gets to 13 and he finds out he's not growing like the other guys, and he's not going to make the football team, and and then he drops out, and
then he's failed as dad.
Yeah, he's failed. So there's that whole dark side.
That is a whole other side.
It's dark enough without that dark side, but I've seen that too.
Well, and then we talked about this before hitting record, but there's a side that young dads are not taking leadership. They're not saying, I'll lead, because we feel like, man, we've got areas of our life that's not pulled together, and not like, man, I've got a lot to learn in that area still. I have learned the most by leading, because when I lead something, I don't miss it. I commit. When I'm the leader, I show up, and I can navigating that with my daughters of, I'm leading this. That's why I'm not going to be there. Love you, cheering for you.
That's good.
But I'm the leader, so I'm here. So that's where part of the antidote to this, I think, is more dads saying, I'm going to take leadership, not only be a participant and a consumer of going to that thing, but I'm actually going to pull a group together and be a leader and use Roger's curriculum, or use, whatever. Like, just taking ownership and leadership, I think, is part of the solution to the vortex of like being pulled into out of kingdom focused to kid and cheering focused.
Well, that's a practical way of saying I'm going to get one ahead on it.
Yes.
I'm going to put that on the calendar before all this other stuff gets planned.
Yeah.
And just to let you know, kids, you don't get to vote on this, because that's a spiritual priority for your mom and me, or for me.
Yeah.
And
there's other families, other dads depending on me, if it's a dad's group, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Exactly.
Roger, is there anything else that you wanted to share with our Dad Awesome community?
Well, I just really support the mission. I just think it's wonderful what you are doing. I know some other guys that are working with dads. And I think it's easy for us to say there's a fatherhood crisis in America. It's easy for us to say it's the fatherlessness that's killing America. But that's a generational correction. That's not going to happen by yelling at people or having a program in the inner city. This is a tragedy that we're living with, as you know. Yeah. And so the only way back from that tragedy is to one man at a time, one home at a time. My home, my dad's home, is a great example of that.
It is.
If Christ had not rescued him, put him with other brothers, he wouldn't have these other 4 generations following him. And so I just want to encourage anybody listening to this podcast, keep listening. You know, get yourself some AirPods, and instead of listening to other stuff while you're walking, while you're running, while you're biking, while you're working, listen to stuff that will fan the flame and sharpen the edge.
Good.
And think about your own children.
Yeah.
And ultimately what you're building into them. So thank you, Jeff, for your stamina, your endurance, your perseverance.
Game on.
in
We're
doing
just
this.
just getting started, and you inspire me, Roger,
Well.
with just saying I'm staying after for the hearts of men, for dads. Like you've just, I'm very grateful to have you in my corner and be on the same team as you. So would you say a short prayer over all of us
will.
dads?
Well, Lord, here we are, and we're just your boys. And we love being with our Father. We love how you accept us. We're safe in your grace. You give us an identity, you give us an assignment, and then you walk with us every day. So, Lord, we're claiming that right now. We're reclaiming that and thanking you for being our Father, our guide, our strength, our sovereign and master. And I pray, Lord, that as we walk today, that we'll simply be obedient, that we'll listen to you. And thank you for being our Father. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you so much for joining us this week for the second half of my conversation with Roger Thompson. All the conversation notes, the show notes are going to be at dadawesome.org/294. I would recommend you check out the show notes, link over to the YouTube channel from Ironworks, the ministry that Roger Thompson leads for men. These 40-day challenges are fantastic, little short 2 to 3 minute videos, YouTube videos that you can go through different themes for 40 straight days. He also has other small group curriculum, his book, and I would recommend you follow what he's doing, and he's going to continue to create more. He's in this sweet spot of like really dialing up even more resources for men. So grateful for Roger. Guys, thanks for listening this week. Thank you for being Dad Awesome. We are so grateful for you as you've shared with other men. We continue to hear stories of other men finding this resource because they were invited. They were texted the link, dadawesome.org. Hey, check this out. I think you're an awesome dad. I think this might be helpful to press in and be more dad awesome for your family. So it's a real simple way to expand the impact of this ministry. Guys, thanks for listening. Have a great week.